people knows each other, they help each other all they can, and that's what makes us all a community. There's an awful lot of brotherly love around this place.
There was always a devil-may-care side to the first adventures in the uncharted Americas. That was very much in keeping with the spirit of the Elizabethan age and its language, symbolized by William Shakespeare and his zestful use of English. A few years later, there was a different expedition to the New World. Far to the north of Jamestown, around the Massachusetts Bay, came a different breed of settler. Austere, rigorous Puritans, whose inflexible ideology would soon begin to temper the fire of the Virginians. Their literary counterpart was the Word of God himself, the Bible. Plymouth Plantation in Massachusetts, New England, is a living history community. It is dedicated to recreating the sounds and sights of daily life in the 1620s. The inhabitants make a special study of the main varieties of English brought here by the Pilgrim Fathers.
Bring us peace, plenty of match. We out to take foul.
Pops!
They like to reproduce both the customs and the speech of the Puritans.
Well, how goes it then, mistress?
Oh, well, 'tis fine enough, but, well, 'tis been so cold.
Well, they do worship the very devil. Aye.
On the plantation, the English language research is directed by Jim Baker.
Because of the new program we have here with first-person interpretation, where people take on English characteristics and they act as if they were English, they have to know about England, and most of them have never been there. So what I've done, and some other people, we've gone over and gotten to every town that these people came from. There's over 30 different places. And of those, we go into each town, we find out what it was like to be there in the 17th century. We get the idea of what dialects were spoken, who were the leading landowners, what was the trade in that area, whether it was isolated or not, you know, what the church was like, all the things that these people would have as memories.
The Pilgrims who emigrated to Plymouth came from all over England. Many of these first New Englanders originated in the south and east. But as the place names like Cambridge, Bedford, and Boston, Braintree, and Lincoln suggest, the largest group came from the eastern counties. The flat, cold fens of East Anglia, the Puritan stronghold. Jim Baker and his colleague Len Travers have come to this fenland village to research the speech of East Anglia. It's among the older working people here that they will find the richest examples of the local talk. And a good place to start their investigations is the local pub. On Saturday evenings, East Anglians gather here for what they call a tune-up. The American visitors are having a pint with Clifford Arbon, the local wheelwright. Clifford's strong East Anglian accent is a fine example of what they've come to hear.
Burned more than once, I'll bet. Huh? Got burned more than once, I'll bet. Yeah. Old Sparks should fall down the old handle of ham, you know, go between me and now. And if you just stop, he said, don't bugger out them boys. Wait more here. Yes, sir.
Clifford's craft is as traditional as his talk.
How do I stop in that?
That's how I would know him, Bo. It's a long while since that bit of wood was in the acting, Bo.
Today, Clifford is having some help from his friend Reg Sillett. They both live in the depths of Suffolk.
You got the rabbits around your old farm?
All 5
Unlike the West Country speakers, they don't stress their R's. They say bargain for bargain, past, not past, and they pronounce new for new in the way that's typical of East Anglian English. They both have a long memory for the old words from the old days.
Yes, sir. I come away one day, I said, my granny, I said, "I'll rent my Risbon." I said, "Risbon?" She said, "Yeah." I said, your shot sleeve, you see. They can't call that your sleeve, they call it your Risbon. All this is a Risbon. Did you know that?
Didn't hear no one.
Yeah, they call that Risbon. Yeah. And what else did they used to say? When there's a cart and a high and that, if they ain't got enough to top a stack up, they didn't say, "I want a big load." They say, "I want another little bargain." They call that a bargain. They didn't call it a small load, another little bargain.
Little bargain, yeah.
Yeah. That's when you got it there, that was too big.
The main thing to remember was your frail, boy.
Frail, yeah.
You got to keep your frail with you, because
Yeah.
if you lost that, you ain't got no grub in for the rest of the day.
What was a frail then?
Well, your dinner bag, you people. Dinner bag. You got to keep hold of that.
Yeah. Did you used to wear lodges?
No, my father did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be messed up with
Yeah,
that.
no strap around there.
No,
with
couldn't
the
mess
all the
up.
trousers up there, put high in, and they put no strap around there called a lodger.
Lodger,
Yeah. That's right.
Them days are gone, but
They're all
you
gone,
know,
yeah.
Here in eastern England, we've got a completely different modern dialect from the one that we have over in the southwest of the country. There's no R after the vowels as we had turn and heard, and it's that freedom from the R after the vowels that is still to be heard in the New England states of America, because it's from here, from Cambridgeshire and Norfolk and Suffolk, that the Puritans went over to the eastern United States and took with them a completely different language, which is still identifiably different today.
Baker and Travers are here in East Anglia to find the roots of Puritan English.
Well, this is something. Oh, yes. All the timber and those carved figures up there, very nice ones.
Church and parish records also tell them about the kind of people who emigrated to the New World. Today, they're on the trail of the Howland family, whose story provides an important clue to the making of American English. Henry Howland worshipped in this church and is buried here.
And of course, over here is old Henry himself, the plaque there.
One of his sons, John, was a pilgrim who crossed to America on the Mayflower. The pilgrims on board the Mayflower intended to make a landfall on the bountiful coast of Virginia. But wind, tide, and poor navigation swept them north that November to the wintry, inhospitable shores of the part of America that became New England. New Englanders, like Len Travers, feel that it was East Anglia which played the decisive part in shaping their accent.
Many feel that the New England dialect is based primarily upon the English East Anglian dialect. There are reasons to believe this. Both the East Anglians and New Englanders in general have a tendency to drop their post-vocalic R's, as in Harvard, or Yard, or Ka. That's a rather common aspect. And yes, I heard a lot of that in East Anglia, to be sure. Some people pick up their dialects rather quickly. Some of them have a natural advantage. For instance, if a New Englander is going to play an East Anglian, they have a natural advantage in it, and they find the dialect usually easier to pick up. Whereas if they must portray someone from Zummerzet, they find that a bit more difficult to do, because they must now pronounce their R's when they never have done before.
How language changes is often mysterious. Although the main traceable elements were brought here by East Anglian settlers, theirs was not the only accent. It's the march of history that gives us the contemporary speech of New England.
And halt!